Hey there, Blockhead Traders. Here at Blockhead Traders, I must inform you that we are not financial professionals. Nothing we say should be considered financial advice. We offer our own thoughts and opinions to you, the viewer. We expect you to take these opinions, form your own financial conclusions, and make your own financial decisions. This is Blockhead Traders for the week of November 9th, 2025. And in this week's episode, it's just myself, Sprocket888, and I want to take a look about the health savings account. To me, this is one of the most underrated and underappreciated savings vehicles that you have in your arsenal or that most people have available to them. And we are going to talk a little bit about how the HSA is a little account that really can. But before we hop to that, I want to give a shout out to our Discord, link in the description below. You can hop in there, say hello to myself, Viper, some of the other Blockhead traders. Love to hear what you're trading, love to hear what type of content you want to hear about. Also, you can find a link to thetigang.com/sprocket888, where I post each and every one of my equity trades, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Last, this is available in an audio-only format wherever you get your podcasts. So look us up, subscribe, and if you can't find it there, let us know, and we will get it there. But let's hop to this week's content. And this week, it is open enrollment season in the United States. And that typically comes around in the fall, where if you have health insurance from your employer or you purchase health insurance from the private markets, that you basically make your elections for the upcoming year. And so you go shopping for your health insurance about this time, and you're locking in your health insurance for the following year. So your elections that you pick here don't really take effect until January 1st of 2026, the upcoming year. But this is pretty much when a lot of employers have their open enrollment to make elections for their following year. It's also when the health exchanges kind of open up for those that purchase the health insurance off of the marketplace for yourself if it's not through an employer. And part of all of those things is a little thing called the health savings account. And it is related, but not necessarily directly tied to your health benefits that you have. You might hear about it and say, oh, this health plan is HSA eligible. And so I thought I'd take this time to kind of dig into a little bit around the health savings account, because it is one of what I think the most underappreciated and underutilized savings vehicles out there that is available to almost everybody in the United States. I imagine it might be available globally, but it's really kind of a United States thing. So let's dig into that a little bit. So what exactly is a health savings account? And before I kind of dive into some of this stuff, everything that I'm going to share with you here is really kind of my experience with it. I'm by no means a health professional when it comes to insurance or benefits and things like that, but it is definitely something I myself participate in, and I can share with you some of my past experiences with it, as well as some misconceptions that I had early on and things that I've learned over the years. So I'm going to share those with you guys so you might not have to take as long as it did for me to learn some of these facts. And really what a health savings account is effectively a savings account that you set aside money for, and you can invest that money to let it grow. And then when you need it for health-related expenses, doctor's visits, co-pays, any sort of expense that is tied to a medical expense, you can withdraw it from that account to pay for those medical expenses. And the benefit of all of these things are that it is basically tax-free going in, it's tax-free growing, and it's tax-free coming out as it all relates to health spending. Now, the one thing that is a prerequisite, and this is why I say it's available to almost all people in the United States, is it does require you to have what is known as a high deductible health plan, or an HDHP. So what is an HDHP, or high deductible health plan? The way that is measured is when you have health insurance, your health insurance says, something like, oh, I'm going to cover 80% of your healthcare costs and you have to pay 20%. But you have to reach a certain deductible level before certain benefits kind of kick in and certain coverages kind of kick in. So you have to meet the deductible, just like an insurance for your house or your car. Let's say you might have $1,000 deductible on your car for your car insurance, which basically means the first $1,000 you have to pay out of pocket. Once you hit $1,000, now the insurance company takes over and they'll cover kind of the rest of that. And that's really what this is about. And so the healthcare plans that are considered high deductible, basically for 2026, that limit is $1,700 for an individual and $3,400 for a family. So what that means is as long as your healthcare provider, whatever insurance you have, has a deductible that is at least as big as $1,700 if it's just for you, or $3,400 if it's for your family, then that meets the criteria for a high deductible health plan. So, for example, if my insurance that I have says, hey, you know what, as a family, your deductible is $6,000. Well, that $6,000 is in excess of the $3,400 threshold, so that qualifies as a high deductible health plan. And the reason that I say most Americans qualify for this is because more and more healthcare plans that people end up signing up for are high deductible plans. The monthly costs of plans that are low deductible plans or zero deductible plans are very, very high. And they only get higher every year. And so I think more Americans are signing up for these health plans that are high deductible health plans. So that's why I say if you meet, that's the only criteria that you have to meet. And if your health insurance basically falls in that high deductible number, $1,400 for an individual, $1,700 for an individual, $3,400 for a family, you are eligible to open up an HSA. So that brings me to what I will say is one of the biggest misconceptions I had for a very, very long time. And I thought because that is often advertised with your employer health insurance, that it was a prerequisite that you had to get the HSA from your health insurance provider. And that is 100% not true. And you basically, as long as you have a high deductible health plan, you can open up an HSA anywhere that allows HSAs. So your employer will likely have a partnership with some financial institution that will allow you to open up an HSA with them. And it will look like that is your only option to do the HSA, but that is 100% not true. You can open up your own HSA. I, for one, did end up opening up an HSA with Fidelity because that is a broker that does allow you to open up an HSA, even though you're not purchasing any sort of healthcare plan or not affiliated with my employer at all. When might you want to do that? And that's really where it comes down to what is offered in the HSA account that your employer is giving you. So one of the benefits of signing up for an HSA with your employer is they will often contribute to that HSA through payroll deductions. That's super nice because you don't have to think about it. It deducts out of your paycheck. It goes straight in. They don't bother taxing you on it. So you never have to really claim those taxes back. Your employer takes care of not taxing that going into the particular HSA. So to me, that's a huge benefit. If you are the type of person that says, look, I just want to contribute into there. I'm not going to be picky about the investments that we have. I just need the discipline of somebody else taking the money out for me. Where that might not be as beneficial is depending on the provider of the HSA, you might not have a lot of investment options. Now, I won't really say that that's bad because some people don't like a giant list of a million bazillion things to pick from. They're like, you know what, just give me the best option that I have to put money in here, set it and forget it. And all the HSAs that I've ever seen will offer some sort of product that'll say target retirement age 2050, target retirement age 2065, right? And the fund takes care of all the other stuff. And that's probably fine for most people. And having that regular paycheck deduction might just fit into that person's lifestyle where it says, if I put that money in my bank account, I might be tempted to spend it and not actually contribute it later to an HSA. And so for those individuals, I would say probably that one from your employer is perfectly fine because it's going to get you into the habit of contributing to it. Now, if you're a little bit more advanced or you want a little bit more control over it, perhaps the financial products that HSA administrator offers is not extensive enough for what you want to fund it in. And that's where I found myself in. I wanted more options to basically buy US treasuries or to put it in particular ETFs or put it into particular funds. And those weren't available through my HSA administrator that my employer had. So that's where I opened up my own HSA account with Fidelity because that's effectively just like a broker account, just like your IRA account, just like your regular brokerage account. I can participate in all of the financial products that that broker has. It's not a limited subset just for the HSA. So I could buy Apple stock if I wanted to with my HSA funds. I could buy Tesla stock. I could put it in the S&P, the SPY index fund, and I could buy US treasuries, basically any financial product I could do, where I couldn't do that with the HSA that was administered by who my employer had paired up with. Now, one of the areas that I also got confused early on, and to be honest, little Googling would have straightened it out, but I just never really went through the length to understand the difference other than what the difference in the acronym was, is the difference between an FSA and an HSA. So an FSA is known as a flexible spending account that can be used against medical expenses, and then the health savings account, or HSA, is also used for medical expenses. And so I thought, oh, these are pretty much the same thing. Whatever, because your employer will probably have both of these things available to you. It's really important to understand the difference in that. And well, what the heck is the difference? Well, the difference is one of them is very useful and the other one is not so useful. The FSA, or the flexible spending account, this is the one that's not so useful. This is a set amount of funds that are set aside for flexible spending throughout the year, tied to medical expenses, things like that. But at the end of the year, if you don't use it, you lose it. So it's more of a, yep, here's the money allocated for this, but when it's gone, it's if you don't use it all, it's gone. It's kind of like vacation days for a lot of employers, where if you don't take them, you lose them. And then the health savings account is basically something that has a lot of persistence. It can be around for a very long time. You make contributions to it. It grows. You keep it. Your employer can't take it. The government can't take it. It is 100% vested. It's your money. You get to maintain it, keep it, grow it, take care of it. And that's the one that's very useful. And I touched on this a little bit earlier where I said it is the most tax advantaged account. So sure, you've got your individual retirement account or your IRA, and you can have that in a Roth form or a traditional form. One of them is tax-free going in. The other is tax-free coming out. Both of them are tax-free growing, but they're only tax-free in two of the instances of money flow. So if you think about money flow goes into an account, money can grow in an account, and then money comes out of the account. In a IRA or a 401k, you are tax-free going in and you are taxed money coming out. Now, if it's a Roth, you flip where that tax is paid, where maybe it's tax-free coming out, but tax going in. Now, the HSA is the only triple tax advantaged account. What that means is that money is tax-free going in. That money is tax-free to grow. That money is tax-free when you withdraw it, when you use it for qualified medical expenses. You will not find a better tax-advantaged account out there in existence today than the HSA. And that's really where I think it's the unsung and unwritten hero, because I don't think people fully understand how beneficial that can be on the long term with all of that compounding. It's saving you money on the taxes on the front end, it's compounding over time, and it's saving you taxes on the back end when you go to withdraw. So what I think is everybody should be participating in an HSA that is eligible for it. The only time that I think you should not be participating in an HSA is if it doesn't fit your budget. You should contribute to a 401k first up to the employer match. So to me, that's the only taxed account advantage that you probably should prioritize above an HSA. The reason I say that is because on your 401k, a lot of companies will do what's known as a company match. That'll say, hey, we're going to match 50 cents on the dollar for every dollar you contribute in. Or maybe it's a dollar, 100% match. Maybe it's a 60% match. Whatever it is, most employers will give you some sort of match for the first X dollars or X percent that you put in. Now, why is that more important? Because you could say, hey, Sprocket, that's still not triple tax advantaged. Well, that's true. It's not, but it's free money. So if, for example, your employer says, hey, I'll give you 50 cents on every dollar. For every dollar that I put in, the employer is going to put in 50 cents more. So sure, I might be taxed on either ingoing or outgoing, depending on whether it's Roth or traditional, but that tax is certainly going to be less than that 50% match that I'm getting from my employer. And so that's going to help you grow the balance in that account much faster than any other way. And so to me, that's the only thing that takes priority over an HSA. So if you're a young professional and you're in your open enrollment period, the very first thing I would do is say, hey, what can your budget allow? Put that in your 401k matching up to the matching amount. You don't need to go over the matching amount yet, but take it at least up to the matching amount. Now, if you have money left over where you could say, you know what, I want to put more money in for retirement beyond what my employer will match, that's where I would say take that balance and then contribute to an HSA next. And you'll want to contribute to the HSA until you reach the maximum contribution allowed by the IRS. So in the United States, that's $4,400 for self-coverage or $8,750 for a family. So if we think about the order of contributions of your paycheck, you're going to want to first put it in your 401k up to the match that the company allows, then stop contributing to the 401k, put the balance over into your HSA. Now, if you're able to put in HSA to the maximum contribution allowed, then go back to your 401k and start putting more money into your 401k. But do it in that order. But the most important thing is the second bullet I have up here, and that is start early. Because the one thing that a lot of people will tend to do is if that money hits your pocketbook, you are more inclined to spend it and not be disciplined to save it. If you can tie that into a paycheck with deduction, you're more inclined to put it in there. You are less inclined to miss it because you've never got accustomed to having it in your wallet, and you're going to see a lot more compounding over time. Now, the third bullet is what we kind of already talked about earlier, where it was a misconception that you do not need to get your HSA administrator, the one offered by your employer. They will offer you one. You're welcome to sign up for it. There's usually nothing wrong with it, as I talked about earlier in this episode, but it might not offer you enough flexibility. You are free to open up your own HSA somewhere else. And I recently had a discussion with a member on my team at work where they were kind of just trying to understand what's up with an HSA, what should I do? And I said, look, the problem with doing a paycheck deduction, problem, benefit, whatever, is that's going to come out of your paycheck every single week from now till the end of the year, and you can't change it. So when you lock it in, that's locked in. And as a young professional, you might want a little extra money to do something else. And so I said, what you should set that to be in the habit of contributing is set it to a number that you know you'll be comfortable not having in your bank account. And then what I would encourage you to do is if that's going to be less than the maximum deduction or maximum contribution, go ahead and open up one of these HSA accounts through a broker outside of the employer, and you can make one-time contributions to that. It does not have to be a regular occurrence. So if you get a Christmas check from your parents or a birthday check from your grandparents, you can take that money and you can contribute it directly into that other HSA account that you opened because it doesn't have to go through a payroll deduction. and you can sock away and save that money. Now, the only caveat to all of this is you have to pay attention to how much you have contributed between the two HSA accounts. If you only do it through payroll deduction, it will not let you exceed the maximum contribution. If you only do it through that third party setup that you set, they will not let you exceed the maximum contribution. But because each one of those things doesn't know about the other, you technically could over contribute within a year, and that will come up when you file your taxes at the end of the year. So the last bullet point that I have down here is after the age of 65, the withdrawals are really relaxed. So prior to age 65, you can only withdraw penalty-free for qualified medical expenses. Now, once you're past the age of 65, you're able to withdraw for any expenses that you have. So it doesn't have to be medical related. It could be to pay your electricity bill, to pay your water bill, to buy a car, to take a trip. The only difference is if you withdraw after the age of 65 for a non-medical expense, you do have to treat that withdrawal as income. So you will be taxed at the regular income rate. Now, if you keep it for medical expenses, then it's still tax-free and it's still that triple tax advantaged account. And that's important to keep in mind because it can basically offer an augmentation of your IRAs, of your 401ks. So one of the things that I do with my HSA is I actually don't use it for my medical expenses that I'm encountering right now. So I have doctor's visits, I have vision stuff, all these medical expenses, but I choose to pay for them out of pocket instead of reimbursing myself from my HSA. That's perfectly fine. You can reimburse from the HSA, but I want that money to compound more. And I don't really need the tax benefit right now to pay for the medical expenses tax-free. So I choose not to. I choose to keep it in the HSA and let it grow longer. That is a personal choice. Several years ago when I didn't have as much savings and stuff like that, I actually would, take my monthly medical expenses that we had, kids' doctor's visits, my doctor visits, whatever it was, I would add them up for the month. And I'd go to my HSA and I said, I spent $200 this past month on medical expenses. And I would withdraw $200 from my HSA, which of course is tax-free, put that in my bank account and kind of reimbursed myself for the expenses that I had incurred. And that's perfectly fine. I'm now to a point where I don't have a lot of medical expenses, so I'm leaving those things in there to kind of grow tax-free. I had a couple of things where there was like some physical therapy and stuff like that for different injuries and stuff for people in my family, and I did withdraw for that because those were more substantial costs. But I'm not, going to the doctors and having a $100 doctor visit bill and then reimbursing myself out of the HSA today. I'd rather that $100 stay in the HSA and continue to grow and compound. And then later in life, I will turn more of those expenses in. And part of the reason for wanting those things to grow so much is, as I can tell just from year over year over year, is that medical costs have done nothing but go up and up and up. And they have gone up at significant rates. And so by the time I retire, it's largely anticipated that I think the bulk of my expenses will be medical expenses, whether or not that's, regular doctor's checkups, whether or not I end up having to live in an assisted living at some point, or whatever the thing may be. I think there will be significant medical bills and medical challenges. And so I would much rather use that as an augmentation of my savings, and then keep some of my other accounts around to cover my travel, my living expenses and stuff like that. And let's save this triple tax advantage money as best I can for later on in my life when I'm expecting my medical expenses will be a lot more than a $100 doctor visit once a year when I get sick or things like that. So that brings me to the end of this week's episode. Like I said, the really kind of short episode, really highlighting the health savings account or HSA. It's open enrollment season. I think when it comes to contributions and things you can do with your money today to help them grow the most and maximize the most return for you and your family, HSA has to be at the tippity top of that list because there is absolutely not a better tax advantage option out there anywhere. Not a lot of people talk about it. Not a lot of people, I think, leverage it. But when it comes to growing wealth and compounding and keeping the Uncle Sam at bay, tax-free going in, tax-free growing, tax-free coming out, as long as it's related to a medical expense in retirement. I think you talk to anybody that's there, the bulk of their expenses are medical related. When you're retired, a lot of times your housing is paid off, your cars are paid off, you don't have kids living at home anymore. All of the expenses that you're encountering today just don't exist as much in retirement. They shift to a whole nother category of expenses. And that largely is centered around healthcare. And that's only getting more expensive and it's only getting worse. So it only makes sense to me to put as much as you can for that rainy day, because it's almost with a very high certainty and prediction that that is going to be a rainy day when you enter retirement. So for me, this is absolutely a must for every young professional. And I would highly, highly encourage you. I started contributing to this way the heck too late. If I were to go back and do it again, I would pay attention. This is really a thing that you need to do. And so I strongly encourage everybody out there, if you are in a high deductible health plan, get an HSA, get it from your employer, get it from somebody like a Fidelity, but get one. Put as much as you can into it, as much as you can afford to save in there, save it in there, let it grow. Future you will thank your activity. No, I didn't cover much about investments, but for those of you that do have the HSA, for those of you that are looking for investments, hopefully you're finding good vehicles and good products to put that money in to help it grow tax-free in an HSA, or help your money grow in a brokerage account, paying tax on that, unfortunately, because you haven't jumped into the triple tax advantage HSA. Either way, good luck out there, have fun, and remember, think outside the block.